Good morning for a large crowd out there. First of all, I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of this place, the Larikari people, Nadibi, she's not here, and acknowledge the international visitors for coming along, and all of you guys. We're the Bardi Jawi Ranges. We're actually the top end of the Dampi Peninsula, north of Bigal Bay or Nyuljul Moba, Kanarman next door. Right. Which one we're using? This one here? We have a team of about 9, including we've got an IPA coordinator, but the rest of the team is all Bardi mob. So we've been just employed another couple of female rangers. Well, we say Orange Rangers, so we've got 5 Orange Rangers and now 5 men Rangers full time. And we've got a cultural advisor, old Kevin. And yeah, our girls are getting into the swing. They're doing all the training we've got a fire training happening in next week in Broome. They're doing the incendiary training. So yeah, we'll get them up to helicopter as well. Right, yeah, so that's our native title area. We've got 1,000 square kilometers of land, over 250 kilometers of coastline. It's exclusive native title area. Our country is mostly savanna, woodlands. And again, heritage listed monsoonal vine thickets, basically along the coast, very thick. And large pockets of wattle. Yeah, look, we normally have a fire planning meeting around March, where we invite all the stakeholders. That's including major communities, outstations. We do a big fire planning. We review the previous fire plan, previous fire effort. This is the time we also apply for permits, get everything ready. Most important thing is trying to get the homeland moving, and we have a little bit issue with the homeland movement because a lot of them are basically vacant, or they don't have people there. It's similar to what President said from Nyuljul, that, but they've got infrastructure there, so we've got to try and protect them, and that takes a lot of our effort sometimes because our response is to actually try to burn and protect maybe the whole area, but yeah, we end up dealing with some of those work. So when we bring these outstations, we try and insist with them, this is the right time to burn. So we do our early season burn around between March and July. Most of the work is done then, we just go flat out. We just, work through our work plan, whether it's aerial burning or roadside burning. We do a lot of roadside burning because access, through the woodland is quite thick. We based our fire plan on the previous burn. We look at fuels, the image on the right, just layers of different fuel, different years, different layers. So we burn each year. We'll look at the previous fire records, and then we plan a fire around those. You can see these aerial lines, and in different colors, roadside burning, and then we try and plan and do some walks to break up the country. Because even though we've got a small country, a small area to burn, we've got large blocks, so we try and use access roads and cut it down a bit. Yeah, just some photos of fire scars happening in there on country. Early season burn looks really good. The image on the left-hand side map. The right-hand side. Left-hand side, I think they were the late season fire that myself and President were dealing with. That started when, countrymen just burned country. So that was quite a big fire. That's just some of the issues we have, rangers, when we're dealing with annual fires, just firebugs on country. Countrymen still continue to burn. I don't know, looking for cattle or killer or whatever, the price of meat or deer. But we're faced with these tough challenges when these fires happen, because they normally happen pretty late in the year, around November, around September, and right into December before the before the rain comes. So these are extremely hot fires, and This one we're a bit late to get to. We couldn't, protect these properties. So some of the challenges is that the outstations are not there. Firebugs, gradually getting the message across. And I think Preston mentioned early on, if you look at some of the fire scars before the Ranger program started, they are quite heavy, and if you work your way down, we're right up to 2019. Most of our country was getting burned, pretty close to 80 to 90% early on, around 2013, 2015, because we didn't have a Ranger program happening up there. So these fires were quite extensive, and they were year by year. So a large portion of the Dampier Peninsula was getting burned, very heavy fires, but as soon as the guys got qualified and as soon as the Ranger program started, there's been a major decrease in fire on country, and extremely proud of the work, not just what we do, but each and every one of the Ranger guys to the top end of Australia. And we mentioned that we're leading the way in fire burning throughout probably the world. So the Rangers do a fantastic job. That's a lot to do with traditional knowledge, what time, what area to burn. So that plays a big part in when we burn. Before I finish it up, we are actually part of the Dampier Fire Working Program. It was just started about 5-6 years ago. And myself, Preston, and a couple of our Rangers, I'm sorry I didn't mention them, but I've got Trevor there and Rodney there. Trevor's the longest serving Ranger there, but they didn't want to come up and set up here. There you go, too much people up here. But that program, we incorporate more than just traditional owners. It involved stakeholders like stations that never deal with Indigenous Rangers and countries. We've got station involved, so they're coming in. And our plans, we've got FISA involved, we've got a lot of departments, the police get involved. So we've got a very good group on the Dampier Peninsula to work together, map out our fire plans, incorporate it together, and share resources if needed, I think we might have a couple more years on that, but it shows, They actually joined the band, I believe they joined the bandwagon of the Ranger program because it was such a successful program. And they relied pretty heavily on myself and Preston and our whole team in making sure we continue with the Dampier fire management. So, so that's us. So thank you very much.